So you mentioned the Cure Puck. That's the last product I want to mention on. Then I want to kind of dive in a little bit into maybe your guys' training methodologies and the warranty you guys have and stuff. But just want to touch on the Cure Puck really quick. What exactly is that used for? I mean, what does it even mean to cure? Again, I just want to try to help people who may not fully understand all the different methodologies and strategies people can be using on their plant.
Great question. A product I'm super passionate about. Not a really high price point per unit either. Solves a lot of problems that people do currently experience when it comes to curing. But essentially, curing has been, I would say, one of those things that a lot of people can screw up on the 1 yard line, right? And we see this across the board. And for the longest period of time, it was cultivating and really, forming the craft of growing. We see that as, a lot of people have gotten really good at growing cannabis over the years, especially since I've been working with Twister in the last 8 years. I've grown into hundreds of thousands of grows since I've worked here, and the improvement just on the cultivation side of things has substantially grown. Curing is still one of those huge problems that we tend to see across the board, like even in really matured states like California, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and even more so in super dry climate states like Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado being a dry state as well. Curing is mostly, the easiest way to explain it when it comes to cannabis is bonding the moisture or the water activity in the flower to make it shelf life longer, right? Better quality. Terpenes play a huge factor into that when it comes to the quality of the flower. You don't want those enzymes burning off and evaporating into the room environment. It's ultimately, sealing the aroma of the flower and preserving the yield or the water activity weight of the flower prior to packaging and getting into the end consumer's hands. The uniqueness and the beauty of the Cure Puck is it automates that process for you. It takes a lot of the second guessing out of burping and in when to burp. It's tracking and monitoring RH, temperature, CO2 and a part per million, and VPD, as well as tracking what the room environment and the temperature is and where you're actually curing it. But essentially, the Cure Puck, you can put this thing on just about anything that you would cure in. It works on black and yellow totes. It works on buckets. It works on C-volts. We even sell custom drums that have a polyurethane lining, a wax lining on there that really have a really tight seal. That has a hose with a pump that essentially will sit on top of the flower in the headspace, which we recommend filling, half to three-fourth way filled. You want a little space in the headspace when you're curing, but it's measuring the CO2 and the RH within that headspace, and you're able to put like sweet spots on the RH temp. So right now on the Gen 1 Cure Pucks, it goes off of RH. On the Gen 2s, it incorporates, the pumping mechanism goes off the VPD, the RH, the temp, and the CO2. So it takes those variables and it knows exactly when to offset the gas. Whereas before, if you talk to anyone that's a legacy grower, it's been growing, cannabis for a number of years. When it comes to like burping or, back when I used to do it with mason jars, you would burp probably 2 or 3 times for the first couple of days and then limit that between, 1 to 12 days, doing it once a day from day 4 to day 10. The Cure Puck's essentially telling you exactly when and why you need to do it. So it's taking away any of the second guessing. The big thing with it on the commercial level is it's maintaining the yield. So in drier states like Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, a good rule of thumb or some math to kind of back this up is for every plus or minus 1% of moisture is 5 grams to a pound. And there's 454 grams to a pound. So if a commercial facility is doing, 200 pounds of harvest, and when they take it into a third party lab to get it tested out, and it's testing at say 8% when they should be testing at like 12, that's a 4 point swing on the moisture percentage. And if they're doing 200 pounds, that's essentially losing anywhere between 3 and 5 pounds due to just water activity, AW, leaving the plant when it shouldn't. A good recommendation just on RH and water activity and how they correlate with one another going into cure, we found that you can get really good cured cannabis at like a 0.63 AW, which is equivalent to a 63 RH environment going into a cure. So after it's been trimmed, or if you're going to do on the branch, curing at the end of the day, we'll pull out the necessary moisture out of that to not run a risk at any kind of a mold problem. But you're not going to run a risk of burning off enzymes, say if it drops below 58, which, you know, is basically going to screw up the nose. It won't get you really, really sticky flower, which is something that a lot of our cultivations look to have with this. And most importantly, from a commercial or a business standpoint, it protects your yield at the end of the day. So you're not losing water weight